U.S. Attorney John Durham reportedly will interview former CIA Director John Brennan this week, a development that should have happened months ago by any measure, any standard, and one that seems, well, designed to further delay justice for those who plotted to subvert and to overthrow the presidency of Donald Trump. The patience of the American people has, to say the least, worn thin. As a result of rhinos in the Senate like Senator Lindsey Graham, the left-wing national media, and others who try to recycle and rehash stories about Obamagate as if the investigators didn't know full well after reading a few newspapers or watching a few television news shows just what to expect and where to go find it. And just how long should the American people have to wait for justice? Well, joining us is one of the men at the forefront of trying to bring the Obamagate conspirators to justice. He is Congressman Devin Nunes, ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, great to have you with us. We're getting, word from our colleague Maria Bartiromo that her sources tell her that John Brennan will be finally at long last interviewed this Friday. Your thoughts?
Well, I've always believed that if you start at the bottom, if you get the documents, if you get the emails, if you get the text messages, you may remember it took us, the House Republicans, so long to get through that because we had so many people at the DOJ and the FBI trying to stop us. And it wasn't until Attorney General Barr arrived that we got a real investigation with real investigators. So my guess is the sign that they are interviewing now the very highest people shows that Durham has got his way through all of those documents, all of the criminal referrals, all of the lower level people, and he's now getting to the people at the top that were in charge, Lou. I think that's where we're at. And look, I can't confirm. I have not heard from the Durham people at all, and I have not heard this from anyone else, but I'm assuming that you guys there at Fox Business have your sources.
Well, the idea that this investigation continues to limp along, and I can say things that perhaps you cannot say because you have to work with many of the people I'm describing and talking about, whether it's Senator Graham, who decided that he had asked Director Wray, who did the Senate briefing. He said Bill Priestap, and then we find out there are 4 others. He didn't name those. Right now, the people of South Carolina, it seems to me, Congressman, have a real difficult situation on their hands. They've got a sitting senator who is Republican, who they can't determine whether he's for Donald Trump or against him, whether he's for transparency or against it, whether he wants to investigate or he doesn't. But the record shows clearly he is one of the worst investigative chairmen in the history of the United States Senate, does it not?
Well, look, I'm not going to throw stones because at least he has a gavel and he is getting out information that we haven't been able to get out. And Lou, look, on the good side, remember I was on last week and you asked me, that nothing's happening. But despite what the mainstream media has tried to do, they've tried to hide the fact that one of the top attorneys that was leading this investigation into the Trump campaign through 2016 and 17, the man who had said "Viva la Resistance," the French-speaking DOJ attorney, the person that was, caught with all these dirty text messages back and forth to people, right. He is going to be indicted this week. So this is a key part of a spoke in the wheel. It's one of, probably the 10 people that are involved in terms of the DOJ and the FBI with the Clinton campaign. So I do think, Lou, as frustrating as it is, we are making progress.
It is progress, I would acknowledge, and I am delighted that Kevin Kleinsmith is going to be standing before as it turns out, the head of the FISA court that he betrayed, but he will be doing so, standing before that judge in his role as district court judge, federal district court judge. I mean, isn't that a little screwed up? That we would have a conflict like that on the bench. I am in no way a sympathizer for Kleinsmith, but it just looks ludicrous.
It does. I saw that today. I was a little bit shocked. Just to reiterate, so your viewers understand, The FISA court, there are, I don't know, about, I think 6 to 9 judges that make up the FISA court that, of course, we've been investigating for a long time. It just so happens the new head of that FISA court, who's now in charge of that FISA court, who also sits as an existing judge, as you said, is somehow in charge of this case. I don't know if there's a reason there, but I would assume the Attorney General and U.S. Attorney Durham have raised those concerns if there are concerns. But I did find that highly unusual. But I'll leave it at that because I'm sure there's more to it that we may not know yet.
You have said that so much more artfully than I ever could, because it looks just screwball as hell to me. Congressman Devin Nunes, we always thank you for being here. We appreciate your insight. Look forward to talking with you again soon. Thanks so much, Congressman Devin Nunes.